The 80s, what a time for movies, especially horror films. I was a little young to see all these classics when they first came out, but now, some 40 years later, give or take, I've seen a fair few of 80s horrors. So I put together a list of 8 of the most terrifying 80s horror classics that I think you should watch at least once in your lifetime. So stick around as we go through these 8 horrifying films of the 80s. Let's start with the one film that actually still gives me nightmares. We've done a full video on it. You can find that out at the end or up here somewhere. And that film is American Werewolf in London.
Excuse me. Well, what's that star on the wall for?
You made me miss.
The 1981 werewolf classic directed by John Landis before, the Twilight Zone incident. We don't really talk about that. Landis was known for being a comedy director. He directed The Blues Brothers, Animal House. He had those under his belt. So him making a horror did surprise some people at the time. It is more common nowadays with comedians doing horror films. You got the likes of Jordan Peele, John Krasinski, Danny McBride. He was a part of the Halloween reboot, to name a few. I still remember my dad telling me American Werewolf was a comedy. It's not a comedy. It's terrifying to watch, especially if you're a child.
Hey, did you hear something?
Just now?
Yes.
No.
The werewolf design is amazing. The transformation scene is incredible. And that's why they gave Rick Baker an Oscar, because, they invented a Oscar for him because it looked that good.
I'm a fucking werewolf, for Christ's sake!
In 1984, two great things happened. This guy and Freddy Krueger. A Nightmare on Elm Street from horror king Wes Craven. What makes Nightmare so scary is the thought of being killed in your dreams. If you die in your dreams, you die in real life. Freddy with his iconic green and red jumper, knives for fingers, well, it's a glove, and his scarred face was instantly recognisable, definitely.
This is God.
Wes Craven took the idea of if you die in your dream, you die in real life, and ran with it and really created something terrifying. It only cost 1.8 million to make and made about 25 million at the worldwide box office. But because of that film, it saved New Line Cinema, and that's why New Line Cinema is known as the house that Freddy built. For some, Halloween is the greatest horror film ever made. Man in a mask stalks babysitters, and you all know the story of Halloween. But Halloween came out in 1978, so it's not part of this list. But the director, John Carpenter, did make another film, a remake of I think it was the 50s classic, The Thing. The Thing stars Kurt Russell. It takes place in Antarctica. There's a research lab and people down there are getting hunted down by a shape-shifting alien. The Thing at the time was one of the grossest movies ever made, and having John Carpenter behind the camera, he's going all out. The Thing is one of our favourite horrors, and the ending will leave you trying to figure out who is one of them still. It's a must watch.
I'm sorry, fellas, but I'm not up to it.
Now, if you've seen any of these films on our list so far, click the like button so you let YouTube know that you're enjoying our list and it can pump it out to other people. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, a psychological horror masterpiece. It blends unsettling atmosphere, surreal imagery, and a slow building sense of dread. Creepy. Ugh. Very creepy. Loosely based on Stephen King's novel, the film follows Jack, a struggling writer who takes a job as a winter caretaker at the Overlook Hotel in Colorado. Never been. The snow traps the family inside. Jack kind of descends into madness, haunted by the hotel's dark past and supernatural forces. There's a Stephen King part there.
It is so fucking typical of you to create a problem like this when I finally have a chance to accomplish something.
Kubrick was a genius. That's it. If you've not seen The Shining, I'm really jealous. You're going to get to experience it for the first time, and I don't. We watched The Shining most spooky seasons and have seen it on the big screen. I think a couple of times, actually. It's not just a great horror film. It's probably one up there as one of the greatest films ever made. Special effects exploded in the 80s, and seeing Jeff Goldblum turning into a fly would scare anyone. I mean, the tagline for The Fly is "Be afraid, be very afraid." David Cronenberg's The Fly is a grotesque, tragic blend of science fiction and body horror. Another remake on this list, and obviously it's the 80s, they love to remake things. Jeff Goldblum plays scientist Seth Brundle, who invents a teleportation machine. Now, that is a type of handy device I would like. If anyone can invent a teleportation machine, let me know. When testing the device, something goes wrong. Merging his DNA with your standard housefly, and, well, the film is visually disturbing and groundbreaking for practical effects and makeup.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
If I say Friday the 13th, you'd instantly think of Jason Voorhees and his hockey mask. Well, the original, he wasn't anywhere to be seen.
Oh, I couldn't let them open this place again. Could I?
The first Friday the 13th kicked off one of the most iconic slasher franchises in horror history. Set at Camp Crystal Lake, the film follows a group of young counselors who are stalked and murdered one by one by an unseen killer. Known for its shocking twist ending and brutal kills, Friday the 13th helped define the slasher genre alongside Halloween. A must-watch if you're a fan of the slasher genre, and keep an eye out for Kevin Bacon.
You neglected to mention that downtown they call this place Camp Blood.
Another horror film that changed cinema was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and again, like Halloween, it came out in the 70s, so we're not putting it on our list, sorry. Can't go. Not going on. But the director, Tobe Hooper, with this up-and-coming guy called Steven Spielberg, they decided to make a film about poltergeist, where there's a poltergeist haunting a family and taking their young child to the other side while doing so. It's creepy at points, and there are some great jump scares as well. It is a classic from Spielberg.
They're here.
It's so good that we've pre-ordered the new set from Vice Press, part of their next set of films in the Film Vault range, along with a new copy of The Shining. I'll leave links down below. Make sure you can check them out and see what the amazing work they're doing. And no, we don't get anything for sending you over there. We just like the art and think you should see it. It's incredible. Last on our list, and from the director of Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, and Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, The Evil Dead. Because of this film, Sam Raimi has gone on to some massive projects and even creating his own camera style known as Raimi Cam. The Evil Dead is a classic amongst horror fans. So basically a group of 5 friends go to a cabin in the woods, find a book, and yeah, that's it. Nothing bad happens, no evil happens after they read it. Nothing bad at all. Nothing. The Evil Dead was banned from coming out here in the UK in its uncut form under the Video Recordings Act of 1984. It was heavily censored for many, many years and kind of became like a symbol of like censorship and all that here in the UK. Not until July 2001 could you watch the actual uncut version of The Evil Dead. Not only is it a classic, but it's also gave us Bruce Campbell.
I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected through this book is sure to come calling for me.
The 80s horror was a game changer, setting the standards for fear in ways that still influence today's films. But if I'm honest, it's getting harder to find truly scary films in today's horror scene. Many modern horror movies rely on jump scares or gore. I mean, look at Terrifier films. Not particularly scary, just over the top with gore. But at least they're using practical effects, so that's really good. That kind of helps with horror films. None of this Final Destination CGI gore crap. But I hear the good ones, the latest one's good. The 80s were also a time when horror icons were born. Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers became household names. Even kids dress up as them at Halloween. I mean, it's not designed for children. The 80s to me is the best decade for horror. With so many other horror films that I could have recommended, this video would have been like an hour long. But let's do some quick honourable mentions. All of Elm Street, definitely. Friday the 13th and Halloween sequels. Though I'd watch Elm Street. It's great. Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Evil Dead 2, Fright Night, Aliens, Predator, The Lost Boys, Sleepaway Camp, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Burning, The Howling, Hellraiser, Scanners, Society, and the scariest one of them all, Vampire's Kiss.
Groovy.
If you enjoyed this list of 8 horror films you need to see, why not write in the comment section which one is your favourite or which ones you've not seen yet and are going to watch. And if you've seen them all, write more ones down there. Let other people know. But if you fancy subscribing, it is free to do so, and it helps us as a channel grow more, which would be great. We should be putting out more videos. But if you're looking for something else to watch now, why not watch this here, where I talk about a film I saw far too young. And until next time, I will see you later.